The air in a hospital corridor has a specific weight, a thickness that seems to resist the very lungs of those who walk through it. It is not just the clinical scent of antiseptic or the low hum of medical machinery. It is the heavy silence that follows a serious diagnosis. When a doctor delivers news that reshapes the future into a landscape of uncertainty, the world outside those sterile walls ceases to exist. In that singular moment, time stops and the heart begins a frantic search for something, anything to hold on to. For many, this is the point where science reaches its visible edge. When the charts suggest a finality that the human spirit refuses to accept, the psychological transition begins. It is a shift from pure medical reliance to a profound spiritual seeking, a journey into the unknown depths of faith where the impossible is whispered as a possibility. This is where the story of Saint Peregrine Laziosi begins to resonate across the centuries. He is not merely a figure of antiquity, frozen in a stained glass window. He is the universal patron for those battling cancer and diseases deemed incurable. To the millions navigating the fluorescent-lit hallways of modern oncology wards, he is a companion in the struggle. His name is invoked by those who have been told there are no more options, yet who feel an instinctual drive to keep fighting. But what makes this 13th century monk so relevant today? The answer lies in a single, transformative night that changed the course of medical understanding and religious history forever. Imagine a man, exhausted and frail, facing the ultimate physical loss. For Peregrine, the medical verdict was clear. A horrific, malodorous growth had claimed his right leg, and the surgeon, Paolo Salazio, had prepared the instruments for a radical amputation scheduled for the following morning. There were no modern anesthetics to dull the pain, only the grim certainty of a blade. Yet, as the sun set on what was supposed to be his last night as a whole man, Peregrine dragged himself toward a fresco of the crucified Jesus. It was a moment of absolute vulnerability, a desperate petition from a soul that had nothing left to lose. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This moment of tension, the long night before the unthinkable, is the hook that has kept his legacy alive. It is the story of a man who woke up to a limb that was perfectly, inexplicably healthy. Peregrine matters today because he bridges the gap between the medieval world and modern oncology. In every hospital room where a family gathers to pray, his spirit is present. We are not just looking at a religious relic, but at a source of psychological and spiritual resilience. This documentary will journey through the rugged streets of 13th century Forlì, Italy, to explore his fiery youth as a political rebel and his miraculous transformation. We will examine the theology of his prayer and the documented accounts of his healing power that continue to baffle the skeptical and inspire the faithful. When we use the word incurable, we describe a physical wall, a boundary set by our current understanding of biology. But for the devotee, faith acts as a second wind for the soul. It provides a way to move forward when the body has stalled. To face illness is to enter a dark night. But as Peregrine's life demonstrates, it is often in that hour that the most profound light is found. His story is not just about the restoration of a leg, but the restoration of hope when all doors seem locked. As we embark on this exploration of his sacred existence, we seek to understand the very nature of grace under pressure. The journey from rebellion to reverence offers a blueprint for anyone standing on the precipice of despair, reminding us that the human spirit possesses an endurance that defies even the starkest medical realities. To understand the magnitude of the miracle, we must journey back to the source, to the dusty streets of 13th century Forlì. Peregrine Laziosi was not born with the serene aura of a saint. He was born with the volatile fire of a revolutionary. At 18, he was a key figure in the anti-papal politics of the era, a young man whose spirit was as sharp and uncompromising as the civil unrest tearing through Italy. Forlì was a city under heavy interdict, a place of constant disobedience where political tempers flared easily. Peregrine stood at the center of this storm, leading the charge against the authority of the church with a fierce, hot-headed energy that defined his early years. The turning point arrived during a period of violent riot. St. Philip Benizi, the general of the Servite order, had been sent by the Pope as a mediator to bring the rebellious citizens back to the fold. As Philip addressed the angry crowd, the young Peregrine stepped forward. Fueled by youthful rage, he struck the holy man across the face with a stinging blow. The crowd held its breath, expecting retaliation. Instead, Philip Benizi performed an act of radical grace. He simply turned the other cheek. He offered silent forgiveness where Peregrine had expected condemnation. This display of humility pierced through Peregrine's anger. Overwhelmed by remorse, the young rebel followed Philip out of the city, fell at his feet, and begged for a new life. The revolutionary died that day, replaced by a man desperate to serve. Peregrine joined the Servite order, but his conversion was not a quiet retreat. He embraced a life of extreme penance, committing himself to a rigorous discipline. He vowed never to sit down for 30 years. Whether praying or resting, he remained upright, leaning only against a wall when physical exhaustion became unbearable. This grueling endurance was an outward manifestation of his inner spiritual focus, keeping his soul constantly vigilant in its devotion to the divine. Decades of this posture took a brutal toll. In his 60s, a horrific, cancerous growth appeared on his right leg. In the medieval world, this was a death sentence. The tumor was excruciatingly painful and malodorous. The stench was so repulsive that his fellow monks could hardly bear to be near him. Peregrine, once proud and rebellious, now found himself humbled by the rot of his own flesh. The situation reached a breaking point. Paolo Salazio, a distinguished surgeon, was summoned. Upon inspecting the weeping growth, Salazio rendered a cold verdict. The gangrene was spreading, and the only way to save Peregrine's life was a radical amputation at the hip. The surgery was scheduled for the following morning. The tools were sharpened, and the monastery braced for the cries of a man facing the sore without the aid of anesthesia. That night, facing a future of disability, Peregrine dragged himself toward the sacred monastery chapel. He collapsed before a fresco of the crucified Jesus. In the shimmering candlelight, he poured out his soul, not demanding a miracle, but offering his suffering as a final act of surrender. As he slipped into a feverish trance, a vision unfolded. He saw Jesus descend from the cross. The Savior leaned down and touched his diseased leg, his fingers bringing a profound coolness that extinguished the burning pain. When the sun rose, Paolo Salazio arrived to perform the task. The surgeon was completely overwhelmed by the sight, but when he pulled back the bandages, he stood in stunned silence. There was no tumor and no trace of decay. The leg was smooth and healthy. The miracle was so undeniable that Salazio documented it as a divine work. News spread widely across Europe, transforming Peregrine into a shining symbol of radiant hope. After his death, his reputation led to his canonization in 1726. He became the patron of the incurable, a bridge for all who stand at the edge of human limits. This miraculous event resonated throughout the centuries long. The miraculous restoration of Peregrine's leg was not the end of his story, but the beginning of a legacy that would stretch across centuries to reach the sterile, fluorescent-lit hallways of modern medicine. To understand why this 13th century monk remains a beacon of hope, we must look closely at the anatomy of the prayer that bears his name. It is not a mere collection of hollow words, but a structured journey of spiritual psychology. The prayer begins with a profound act of humility, an acknowledgement that the human body is fragile and that suffering is a universal burden. By invoking Saint Peregrine, the devotee isn't just asking for a magical cure. They are aligning their own pain with the pain Peregrine felt when the stench of decay filled his monastic cell. This shared vulnerability creates a bridge, allowing the patient to feel understood by a patron who has truly walked through the valley of the shadow of death. In the world of modern oncology, where patients often feel they have lost all agency over their own bodies, this devotion provides a vital locus of control. When a diagnosis is delivered, the person often disappears behind a mountain of charts, statistics, and aggressive treatments. Their body becomes a battlefield for chemistry and radiation. In this cold clinical environment, the act of prayer serves as a reclaiming of the self. It allows the individual to move from being a passive recipient of medical procedures to an active participant in their own spiritual survival. This shift in perspective is what psychologists call meaning-making. By connecting their struggle to the timeless narrative of Saint Peregrine, patients find a purpose in their endurance, transforming their suffering into a form of sacred labor. Today, this ancient devotion has evolved into a global digital movement. The National Shrine of Saint Peregrine and hundreds of other chapels dedicated to him around the world serve as physical anchors for this faith. However, the movement has moved far beyond stone walls. In online forums and social media groups, the prayer to Saint Peregrine is shared millions of times daily. A mother in a remote village can link her intentions with a cancer survivor in a metropolitan city, creating a global web of solidarity. The heavy silence of the hospital corridor is replaced by a digital roar of collective hope. This modern manifestation proves that the need for a miracle worker is as urgent in the age of CRISPR and immunotherapy as it was in the era of Paolo Salazio's sharpened saws. It is essential to maintain a documentary balance when discussing the intersection of faith and medicine. Devotees rarely see Saint Peregrine as a replacement for the oncologist. Instead, the tradition emphasizes that prayer is the medicine for the spirit, acting in tandem with the medicine for the flesh. While doctors work on the mechanics of the cells, the saint is called upon to fortify the soul. This complementary approach recognizes that a human being is more than just a biological machine. We are a complex fusion of spirit and matter. Many healthcare professionals have noted that patients who maintain a strong spiritual practice often exhibit greater resilience, navigating the brutal side effects of treatment with a peace that defies clinical explanation. For those who wish to practice this devotion, it often takes the form of a novena, a 9-day cycle of prayer. The instruction is simple. It requires consistency and a heart of total transparency. One does not come to Saint Peregrine with a mask of strength. You bring your terror, your exhaustion, and your incurable reality, and you lay it at the feet of the one who was once a hot-headed rebel. This ritual provides a rhythmic cadence to the chaotic life of a patient, offering 9 days of focused intention that can calm the nervous system and center the mind. This prayer connects the individual to a cloud of witnesses, a vast community of survivors and seekers who share their testimonies of strength. You are never praying in isolation. You are part of a lineage of people who have found the light in the dark. The ultimate miracle of Saint Peregrine, then, is not always the disappearance of a tumor, though the faithful believe such things occur. The ultimate miracle is the healing of the soul, the discovery of an internal peace, and a resilience that remains unbroken even when the body is under siege. As we conclude this journey through the life and legacy of the patron of the sick, we invite you to reflect on the nature of miracles in your own life. Whether it is a physical restoration or the quiet strength to face another day, grace appears in many forms. We invite you to share your own stories of faith or the names of those you are holding in your prayers today in the comments below. Let this space be a digital shrine where we can support one another, reminding the world that even in the face of the unthinkable, no one has to walk the corridor alone.